So I have a ghost story myself, but yours is way cooler. But I do have one. I'm scared to tell you it because it's about one of our rental houses, and we still own this rental house.
Is somebody renting this currently?
They are, and I don't know if they watch this podcast or not, but it's too good of a story not to tell.
They're finna find out.
They're going to. So this house in Corbin burned 10 years ago. We bought it 7 years ago. When we bought it, it was still burned. Like we had to tear everything out. There was smoke damage everywhere. The guy we bought it off was this old man, and he said that his brother had actually was the one that was in the house when it burned. And the way the fire started was he was cooking on the stove and had a heart attack. And the heart attack didn't knock him out, didn't kill him, but it put him on the floor where he couldn't move. And the stove caught on fire, the food, and it caught the cabinets on fire. And he died from the fire.
No.
Not the heart attack.
Burned alive.
Burned alive.
No.
Right there in the kitchen, they said that his fat was they said his fat was still on the floor when we bought it. And when we renovated it, like there was like greasy spot where the kitchen used to be. So here's the worst part of here's the worst detail that I'm very reluctant to tell. We made that the master bedroom.
Sir. Sir.
If that's not the recipe for a haunting.
And they don't know this.
No. I had a friend rent that house before the current renters, and I didn't tell him ever. And he's not there anymore, so if he watches this, then he'll know what house I'm talking about.
You know what? I wouldn't want to know.
I wouldn't want to know either. And I'm not going around telling these stories. I've never told this story. Blake and I heard it years ago, and it was horrifying, and we just tucked it away. We're just keep an eye on it in our brain, but we're not going to tell anybody.
What are you going to do when one day a renter comes to you and is like, there's really something up here?
Well, hopefully that happens, because then...
Are you going to be like...
No, not surprised. Also,
that makes sense.
We can talk about it on podcast next year. Halloween edition. So... The second ghost story I have, that one isn't even a ghost story. That's just a horrifying mess of a story that's probably created a haunting.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? I don't know.
So we're doing another episode of the PropertyTales podcast. My name is Barrett Freeman. You'd like to introduce yourself again?
I'm Victoria Henson.
And what do you do, Victoria?
I work at a funeral home.
So we're close to Halloween. So do you have any ghost stories?
I do. I have one, maybe two. I have like 1.5 ghost stories. But
enlighten me.
So, once upon a time, I used to stay at my best friend's house with her. And so her room, so in this basement is her bedroom. There's a big living room down there. There's a full kitchen down there. There was also this room that stayed locked because they rented this house off of other people. So in this room was the owner's belongings.
There's always that like sketchy room in the basement too.
Well, yeah. So I noticed that I would just hear things throughout the night, and like I'd wake up, she'd sleep in her room and I'd sleep on the couch. I would wake up and the cabinets in the kitchen would be open. So I started asking her about it. I would say, do you notice anything spooky ever? No, of course not, because they're super religious and they know not to draw attention to anything like that. Well, here I am. I know something is wrong. Something is creeping around her house. And more stuff started happening. Like, so what really set me off was I woke up in the middle of the night and the light was on in this room, but the door was locked. Shut and locked.
The secret owner room?
Yes. And I was like, this is a little sus. I'm a little nervous now.
How old were you?
It wasn't too long ago. It was maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Like, no, this was like last weekend.
Oh, yes. Yeah. But, so she ignored it. I didn't. I started staying at home more often, and I noticed weird things happening at home. This thing followed me home.
What was happening at your house?
Like, so, and I never felt like it was mean or anything. It was just messing with me. Like, it knew that I knew that it was there. But, like, I don't have the TV on in the background ever. That gets on my nerves. No, thank you. So, one day my parents walked out of the house. I went and turned the TV off. I turned it down, the volume. Turned the TV off. I go in my room. I don't remember what I was doing. I was painting, I think. And out of nowhere, I hear the TV on in the living room full blast. And I was like, now I know that I just turned that TV off. And I turned the volume down. And just weird things. And like I would see shadows. Like the way that the side door that we go in and out of is, like, the moon hits it perfectly. So it's like the moonlight in the house. Like, one night my dad said, did you walk into the bathroom? And I was like, no, never went in there. And he was like, well, it looked like somebody was walking through there. So, no, not me, but my ghost friend that followed me home. A lot of weird things.
Was there any resolution to that? Did it keep happening?
A lot of weird things kept happening, but I think I got to the point where I was like, okay, this isn't new and fun anymore. Get out of my house.
Did you have a name for it?
No, he was just my friend.
And it was a male energy, maybe?
You know what? I don't know, because it wasn't really hostile. I don't want to say that men are hostile, but...
I just thought it was interesting that you chose the him pronoun.
Right. Well,
That's just your instinct?
Yeah.
And we've got an exciting video we're doing Friday anyway. So, yeah, I'm excited for you guys to see that one. We're going to walk through the Ferriston Haunted Forest in London, Kentucky. It is a world-class haunted trail. I mean, it's one of the best I've ever been on. Have you been?
I went a few years back, and it was very good. So I'm sure that they have improved since then.
Yeah. So we're gonna walk through it together, and we're gonna just let people experience it. I mean, in theory, people could see this all over the world. So, and there's a huge following for haunted houses. There's a huge YouTube subsection of just people that travel around to do haunted houses.
Yeah.
And I used to watch them like a few years ago. I kind of forgot about that, but they're getting big views, and plus it'll just be fun. I haven't done a haunted house yet this year.
Me either.
Okay, so it's perfect.
Me either.
Perfect.
Given what I do for a living, I spook very easy.
See, I would have expected the opposite.
No.
You're just freaking yourself out all the time.
Always.
That's hilarious.
Constantly.
We have this other house in Corbin, and when the workers were working to remodel it, they kept hearing the front door open, and then someone walk up the steps. So right when you walk into the front door, there's stairs right in front of you. You go upstairs. But we had 4 or 5 guys there, so it wasn't unusual for people to come in and out. But they would say that everyone would be in there, and the door would open, and they'd hear someone run upstairs. And so one time they heard the footsteps upstairs. One worker's like, is someone messing with us? Ran up the stairs, checked, there's 2 bedrooms up there. There was no one in the house. And like, we all heard that, right? And like, yeah, we all heard it. One of our workers, he needed to make up some hours because he just wanted money. And so he was working late by himself. And he said he was right by the stairs. He said the door swung open. He heard the footsteps running quickly up the stairs, and he was by himself, and he said he immediately just ran out of the house. And he called us. He's like, I'm not going back in there.
Walking is different than running. If I hear something running at me, gone.
And so I'm not going to tell which house that is, but we still do own both those houses. I was thinking about lying and saying we've sold these houses since then, but the problem is I would get caught for sure,
right.
Because it'd be everyone knows when a house burns downtown Corbin.
Right.
I mean, unfortunately, it couldn't be closer to Main Street. So those are my ghost stories.
Can I add a comment to your first one? Fun fact. Did you know that obese people can cause grease fires in a crematorium?
Gross. Really?
and burn. They could burn the whole crematorium down.
So
if it's not done right.
So the fat accelerates the fire and makes it hotter and brighter. What do you have to do in those situations?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what they do.
Surely they don't cut him up.
No.
I'm trying to problem solve it, because you have to feed it in like slowly, I guess.
First, you want to cremate obese people first. You don't want the retort to be already hot, because that just...
What's a retort?
The cremation machine.
Oh, it's called a retort?
A retort.
I've never heard that word before.
Cremation chamber.
Oh my God.
Yes. They are very loud. They are very, very hot. Very, I don't know. I don't like cremation. It's not for me.
Is it just basically a big oven?
Yes.
And they just, what's left after the cremation?
So, what is left after the cremation, I'm glad that we're here now. Once all the tissue, everything like that has been burned, all that's left are bone fragment. And so they will scrape that bone fragment out of the retort and put your bones in a processor that makes you ash, dust. So you don't come out just this pile of ash.
Yeah, I would assume that's what it was. I assume they literally just brush the ash into a bag and put it in a...
No, so we brush the bone fragments out of the retort. We also will take a magnet and kind of like stamp down on all of the bone fragments to get out any screws or plates or anything like that. Because you can't put that in the processor, that would destroy it.
So what's the processor, a blender?
I don't want to say it's a blender, but...
Human oven, human
in
blender.
the grand scheme of things...
How big is this human blender?
It's pretty decent size.
I mean, it's not like the size you'd have on your kitchen.
No.
Put Uncle Greg in here and...
Like, actually a blender. No.
I didn't want to say this, but it is actually a blender. It's a Ninja.
That's actually what it is.
You don't know the answer to this, but is there like a company that they make all this stuff? Is it just like one company? What's the company?
I mean, there's not just one company. There's plenty, but
I just thought it'd be funny if I walked into like the human blender and it had like Samsung on the side of it. Samsung, the best human blender.
No. When I was getting this tooth pulled the other day, I guess the oral surgeon was looking through my paperwork. And as I was leaving, he said, "You look like you should be modeling and not working in a funeral home."
Well, that was nice of him to say.
And I was like, "Thanks, sir."
I don't get those compliments. I rarely get compliments.
He should have been the model. If you're watching this,
is he a hot dentist?
what's up? Yeah, he's an oral surgeon.
Good with his mouth.
Probably.
No, this will make the edit. Or maybe, who knows? We'll just go real dark on it.
What do you know about mortuary law?
None. I know none. I know about death certificates, but that's very, very narrow. Like how do you get a death certificate? I'll tell you real fast. The nursing home the funeral home has to fill out a form.
No person
send it to
having
Frankfurt.
received a majority of the votes cast,
And,
a speaker has
Before they
not
send to Frankfurt, they have to have a doctor
been
sign
elected.
off saying. And once the funeral director and the doctor sign off on it, sends it to Frankfurt, and then the Office of Vials and Statistics produce a death certificate.
Correct. That's what I do all the time. File the death certificates. But sometimes, okay, is there like a code or like an unspoken law that says if you're going to be a doctor, you have to have absolutely horrendous handwriting?
It's laziness. It's because I have to handwrite stuff all the time too, and if I want it to be read, I have to go slow and careful.
Or like we have to like reach out 1,000 times to these doctors to sign this death certificate that I sent you 2 months ago. Like, what is your deal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think it's a laziness thing. And my dad always got on to me too. He's like, write in a way that people can read.
Right.
You do have to slow down.
Yeah.
But, you're not doing anybody any favors if they can't read your writing.
It's Not being able to read people's handwriting drives me up the wall.
It's just society said, doctors, you can write however you want, and we'll
Right,
just deal
and
with
then
it.
it's fine because you save lives.
But it's just not fair. Because I have to write notes and things for like clients, like especially if I need to give them a list of things they need to like bring me.
Yeah.
And I have to write slowly, and then I give it to them and say, read this back to me, make sure you can read it.
Right.
I have trouble. All right. Well, this has been Property Tales Podcast. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.